like running late as usual. But gonna be reading Treasure Island. Hello. Sorry I'm late. I had to finish eating. Welcome. Hello, Shane. I'll just wait for everybody to join us. I am running a bit late than I told everybody I'd be here. But hello. Let me get a different pillow. There we go. Welcome. How was everybody's evening? Oh, thank you. I'm gonna be reading Treasure Island. So, I was supposed to start like an hour ago, so sorry for everybody who was waiting. Hello. Welcome. I'll wait for everybody to join, especially the people who were like really making sure. Oh, Mike, thank you for the flowers. Thank you for the rose. Yeah, just waiting for everybody to join. Gonna be continuing reading. Oh, hello, Chance. Treasure Island. Robert, thank you for the ice cream. I should probably let my hair dry out. Thank you. All right. Baker, there you are. Sorry I'm late. Mikey, thank you. Took a little bit longer to eat and get ready for bed than I realized. I'm glad that you made it. I'm glad it's not too late for you. Haven't started yet, so that's good. Oh my gosh, I freaking missed you. Aw, James, I missed you too. Welcome back. Morning, No Man's Planet. Welcome back. Aw. Are you rich? Like, are you talking about like money, or are you like rich in like, like personality? Because that's what I like. Good morning, No Man's Planet. Welcome. How are you? How's your morning so far? Never fear, no man's is conscious. Oh, man. Awesome. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome all the newcomers. Anybody who's new here, you have such a pretty feeling. Aw, thank you, Robert. Thank you. I do many different types of lives, but this kind, a bedtime ASMR. Yeah, there you go. This live that I do at night like this, I'm poor in life, rich in personality. Perfect, No Man's Planet. We can hang out. I mean, nothing against people who are, like, financially rich. It's just, it's hard to find people who are rich and are people I want to hang out with. Isn't that story from 7? Oh, dear. No, this is very old. I can't believe I requested this book and then missed the first read. Right? I was waiting, too. I was, like, trying to wait for the people, like, that requested it. But we're only in chapter 10, so it's good. So this type of live that I do is reading a book, reading through an entire book, a few chapters at a time. This book has, like, really short chapters, so I actually can usually get away with, like, reading, like, 3 or 4. For 9-year-olds, I mean, I guess. I mean, it's a classic. So, I mean, Alice in Wonderland and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Lord of the Rings even is like children's books technically. But, I mean, look at all the adults that read them. I mean, if you don't want me to read it to you, you don't have to stay. But yeah, so, yeah, so I guess I'll start reading. By the way, when you are done with it, watch Black Sails. Oh, really? I played I'm just starting yet. I'm just waiting for everybody to kind of like join us and have time to see the notification and join. She can read the dictionary to listen. Oh, Dave, I appreciate you. That's funny. I appreciate you. Paul, hello. Welcome. Yeah, I'm about to go to bed. Oh, perfect, Blaze. Welcome, Blaze. Hi. Glad to see you. Okay. Oh no, did No Man leave? No Man, come back. Okay. I think about the people who want to hang out are here, except for No Man apparently left again. I'm about to sleep. Oh, you're here. Okay. It made it look like it you left. I'm about to sleep, so let's see if you make me fall asleep. Laying down in bed now. Awesome. Perfect timing. Read it. Paul, it's funny. I'm ready. Oh man. Okay, hold on. Hi guys. Alright, I'm about to start. Besides coming home to my kitties, this is freaking amazing. Aw, James. Coming home to kitties is the best. Alright, we're in chapter... Oh, sorry, I was lying. It's chapter 11. Black Sails is the prequel to Treasure Island. Really? Oh my gosh. I was like, I played Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Alright, you ready? This is chapter 11. Oh, I already can't read. This is chapter 11 in the Apple Barrel. So, as per usual, I will read the last paragraph of the previous chapter so we kind of get an idea of where we're at. Go, girl! Alright, I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Thanks for the support. Alright. In I got boldly into the apple barrel, and found there was scarce an apple left. But sitting down there in the dark, what with the sound of the waters and the rocking movement of the ship, I had either fallen asleep or was on the point of doing so, when a heavy man sat down with rather a clash close by. The barrel shook as he leaned his shoulders against it, and I was about to jump up when the man began to speak. It was Silver's voice, and before I had heard a dozen words, I would not have shown myself for all the world, but lay there, trembling and listening, in the extreme of fear and curiosity, for from these dozen words I understood that the lives of all the honest men aboard depended on me alone. So that's the last chapter. Aw, James, thank you. I love that. Thank you so much. Hi, Chris. Welcome. You guys are so sweet. I appreciate you guys so much. Alright, chapter 11, in the apple barrel. No, not I, said Silver. Flint was captain. I was quartermaster. Along of my timber leg, the same broadside, I lost my leg. Old Pew lost his deadlights. It was a master surgeon, him that amputated me, out of college and all, Latin by the bucket, and whatnot. Sorry, my cat is having a moment. I don't know if you can hear him. But he was hanged like a dog and sun-dried like the rest at Corso Castle. That was Robert's men, that was, and come to changing names to their ships, Royal Fortune, and so on. Now, what a ship was christened, so let her stay, I says. So it was the Cassandra as brought us all safe home from Malabar after England took the viceroy of the Indies. So it was with the old Walrus, Flint's old ship, as I've seen amuck with the red blood and fit to sink with gold. Ah, cried another voice, thought of the youngest hand on board, and evidently full of admiration. He was the flower of the flock, was Flint. Davis was a man too, by all accounts, said Silver. I never sailed along of him, first with England, then with Flint. That's my story, and now here on my own account, in a manner of speaking. I laid by 900 safe from England, and 2,000 after Flint. That ain't bad for a man before the mast, all safe in bank. 'Tain't earning now, it's saving does it, you may lay to that. Where's all England's men now? I don't know. Where's Flint? Why, most of 'em aboard here, and glad to get the duff. Been begging before that. Some of 'em. Old Pew, as had lost his sight, and might have thought shame, spends £1,200 in a year like a lord in Parliament. Where is he now? Well, he's dead now and under hatches. But for 2 years before that, shiver me timbers, the man was starving. He begged, and he stole, and he cut throats, and starved at that by the powers. Well, ain't it much use, after all, said the young seaman. "'Tain't much use for fools, you may lay to it. That, nor nothing," cried Silver. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry. Billy Bones, yes. Billy Bones. I have a kitty, yes. Keto. Sorry. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Sorry, anybody joining? We are reading Treasure Island. I just started the 11th chapter. But now you look here. You're young, you are, but you're as smart as paint. I see that when I set my eyes on you, and I'll talk to you like a man. You may imagine how I felt when I heard this abominable old rogue addressing another in the very same words of flattery as he had used to myself. I think, if I had been able, that I would have killed him through the barrel. Meantime, he ran on, little supposing he was overheard. Here it is about gentlemen of fortune. They lives rough, and they risk swinging, but they eat and drink like fighting cocks, and when a cruise is done, why, it's hundreds of pounds instead of hundreds of farthings in their pockets. Now, the most goes for rum and a good fling, and to sea again in their shirts. But that's not the course I lay. I puts it all away, some here, some there, and none too much anywheres, by reasons of suspicion. I'm 50, mark you. Once I'm safe back from this cruise, I set up gentlemen in earnest. Time enough, too, says you. But I've lived easy in the meantime, never denied myself a nothing heart desires, and slept soft and ate dainty all my days, but when at sea. And how did I begin? Before the mast like you. Well, said the other, but all the other money's gone now, ain't it? You daren't show face in Bristol after this. Why, where might you suppose it was? Asked Silver, derisively. At Bristol and banks and places, answered his companion. It were, said the cook. It were when we weighed anchor, but my old missus has it all by now, and the spyglass is sold, lease and goodwill and rigging, and the old girl's off to meet me. I would tell you where, for I trust you, but it'd make jealousy among the mates. And can you trust your missus? Asked the other. Gentlemen of fortune, returned the cook, usually trust little among themselves, and right they are. You may lay to it, but I have a way with me, I have. When a mate brings a slip on his cable, one as knows me, it won't be in the same world with old John. There was some that was feared of Pew, and some that was feared of Flint. But Flint his own self was feared of me. Feared he was, and proud. They was the roughest crew afloat, was Flint's. The devil himself would have been feared to go to sea with him. Well now, I tell you, I'm not a boasting man, and you've seen yourself how easy I keep company. But when I was a quartermaster, lambs wasn't the word for Flint's old buccaneers. You may be sure of yourself in old John's ship. Well, I tell you now, replied the lad. I didn't half a quarter like the job till I had this talk with you, John, but there's my hand on it now. And a brave lad you were, and smart too, answered Silver, shaking hands so heartily that all the barrel shook. And a finer figurehead for a gentleman of fortune I never clapped my eyes on. By this time I had begun to understand the meaning of their terms. By a gentleman of fortune they plainly meant neither more nor less than a common pirate, and the little scene that I had overheard was the last act in the corruption of one of the honest hands, perhaps the last one left aboard. But on this point I was soon to be relieved, for Silver, giving a little whistle, a third man strolled up and sat down by the party. Dick Square. said Silver. Oh, I knowed Dick was square, returned the voice of the coxswain, Israel Hands. He's no fool, is Dick. And he turned his quid and spat. But look here, he went on. Here's what I want to know, Barbecue. How long are we a-goin' to stand off and on like a blessed bumboat? I've had a'most enough o' Captain Smollett. He's hazed me long enough, by thunder. I want to go into that cabin, I do. I want their pickles and wines and that. Israel, said Silver, your head ain't much account, nor ever was, but you're able to hear, I reckon. Leastways, your ears is big enough. Now here's what I say. You'll birth forward, and you'll live hard, and you'll speak soft, and you'll keep sober, till I give the word, and you may lay to that, my son. Well, I don't say no, do I? Growled the coxswain. What I say is, Win, that's what I say. And here's the picture. That's him in the barrel. Oh, good night. Warning, I might fall asleep in the middle of the night. No problem. That's what it's here for. Good night. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for the follows. We're reading Treasure Island. When, by the powers, cried Silver. Well, now, if you want to know, I'll tell you when. The last moment I can manage, and that's when. Here's a first-rate seaman. Captain Smollett sails the blessed ship for us. Here's this squire and doctor with a map and such. I don't know where it is, do I? No more do you, says you. Well, then, I mean the squire and doctor shall find the stuff and help us to get aboard. By the powers. Then we'll see. If I was sure of you all, sons of double Dutchmen, I'd have Captain Smollett navigate us halfway back again before I struck. Why, we're all seamen aboard here, I should think, said the lad Dick. I'm just reading. Wish I was in person. We're all foxily hands. This pirate talk is hard to read sometimes. I am a muddle during the day. Oh, I'm glad, Wish. Right. You guys are funny. We can steer a course, but who's to set one? That's what all you gentlemen split on, first and last. If I had my way, I'd have Captain Smollett work us back into the trades at least. Then we'd have no blessed miscalculations and a spoonful of water a day. But I know the sort you are. I'll finish with them at the island, as soon's the blunt's aboard, and a pity it is, but you're never happy till you're drunk. Split my sides. I've a sick heart to sail with the likes of you. Easy all, Long John, cried Israel. Who's a crossin' of you? Why, how many tall ships, think ye now, have I seen laid aboard? And how many brisk lads drying in the sun at Execution Dock, cried Silver. And all for this same hurry and hurry and hurry. You hear me? I've seen a thing or two at sea, I have. If you would only lay your course, and a pint to windward, you would ride in carriages, you would. But not you, I know you. You'll have your mouthful of rum tomorrow and go hang. Everybody knowed you was a kind of chaplain, John, but there's others as could hand and steer as well as you, said Israel. They liked a bit of fun, they did. They wasn't so high and dry, nohow, but took their fling like jolly companions every one. So, said Silver. Well, and where are they now? P was that sort, and he died a beggar man. Flint was, and he died of rum at Savannah. Ah, they was a sweet crew, they was, only where are they? But, asked Dick, when we do lay 'em athwart, what are we to do with 'em anyhow? There's the man for me, cried the cook admiringly. That's what I call business. Well, what would you think? Put 'em ashore like maroons? That would have been England's way. Or cut 'em down like that much pork? That would have been Flint's or Billy Bones. Billy was the man for that, said Israel. Dead men don't bite, says he. Well, he's dead himself now. He knows the long and short on it now, and if ever a rough hand come to port, it was Billy. Right you are, said Silver. Rough and ready. But mark you here, I'm an easy man. I'm quite the gentleman, says you, but this time it's serious. Duty is duty, mates. I give my vote. Death. When I'm in Parliament and riding in my coach, I don't want none of these sea lawyers in the cabin a-comin' home, unlooked for, like the devil at prayers. Wait is what I say, but when the time comes, why, let her rip. John, cried the coxswain, you're a man. You'll say so, Israel, when you see, said Silver. Only one thing I claim Trelawney. I'll wring his calf's head off his body with his hands, Dick, he added. Breaking off. You just jump up like a sweet lad and get me an apple. Oops, sorry. Yeah. Apple to wet my pipe like. You may fancy the terror I was in. I should have leapt out and run for it if I had found the strength, but my limbs and heart alike misgave me. I heard Dick began to rise, and then someone seemingly stopped him, and the voice of Hans exclaimed, "Oh, stow that! Don't you get suckin' of that bilge, John. Let's have a go of the rum." "Dick," said Silver, "I trust you. I've a gauge on the keg, mind. There's the key. You fill a pannikin and bring it up." Terrified as I was, I could not help thinking to myself that this must have been how Mr. Arrow got the strong waters that destroyed him. Dick was gone but a little while, and during his absence, Israel spoke straight on in the cook's ear. It was but a word or two that I could catch, and yet I gathered some important news, for besides other scraps that tended to the same purpose, this whole clause was audible. Not another man of them'll jine. Hence there was still faithful men on board. When Dick returned, one after another of the trio took the pannikin and drank. One to luck, another with a "Here's to old Flint," and Silver himself saying, in a kind of sing-song, "Here's to ourselves, and hold your luff, plenty of prizes and plenty of duff." Just then a sort of brightness fell upon me in the barrel, and, looking up, I found the moon had risen, and was silvering the mizzen top and shining white on the luff of the foresail, and almost at the same time the voice of the lookout shouted, "Land ho!" Ooh. Yeah, it's, that was chapter 11. Just finished chapter 11. Oh, really? That's awesome. I'm probably gonna go to bed. I'm so tired. Oh, go to bed. Get some good rest. Here I was in barrel listening to, yes, thank you, No Mans, thank you. Yeah, I just finished chapter 11, so we're gonna start chapter 12 now. So we just got to the hey buddy, it's late. It's a weekday. She lays on the stair. No man. Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah, that's funny. You enjoy this, to be sure watch it. It's a prequel with Flint and, oh really, that's amazing. Goddamn. Aw, thank you. Hey Farango. Whitehurst back at it with the swing. Oh my gosh, I love it. I always love a good treasure story, right? Morning. Aw. I'm all set. Awesome. I'm excited. Thank you for the swing. I love it. Aw, thank you, Alex. Love catching this. What year is it? Welcome. We just finished chapter 11, so continue on to chapter 12. Yeah, it's a nice way to wake up. Aw, you guys are making me blush. Oh, man. All right, ready for chapter 12 next. All right. Chapter 12, Council of War. There was a great rush of feet across the deck. I could hear people tumbling up from the cabin, and the forecastle. Okay, I need to show you this word, because like a lot of these words are like cut up to be like pirate type talk, and this is the one word that I really can't, well, it's mirrored, but yeah, like I don't understand what that word is supposed to be. Aw, thank you. You came out, my wife will probably say I can't come out to play my, aw. Yeah, so I'm just gonna foxily, Foxley? No, I don't know what that word is. We're just gonna skip that word. It's in me writing. Okay, hold on. Okay. Where'd it go? This word. This word. What is that supposed to say? Anybody? What word is that supposed to be? I'll wait until somebody can tell me, or just everybody tell me that they don't know. That's fine too. Oh, my hair is still wet. Folksley? Foxel? No clue. Hey, mom's up! Folksley. What's Folksley? Is that a thing? The sentence is, I could hear people tumbling up from the cabin, and I think it's like a ship term. Foxel. I think it's a ship term because it seems to be directing. Got flight school tomorrow at 6 a.m. Flight school, that's exciting. It's the upper. Oh, wait, hold on, somebody knows. Sure, it's the upper deck of a sailing ship. It's why people don't. The living quarters of a ship. Okay, how do I say it? Because it's like all cut up. I mean, Foxley? Oh, but that's good to know. I did not know that. I'm learning a lot of ship terms I didn't rightly understand. Anybody know how to pronounce it? I'm just gonna, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll just do this. I'm gonna pronounce it as, Folksley, and that's when you know what I'm, Folksel. Oh, that's helpful. Thank you, guys. It's ruining bedtime story. I'm sorry. I listened to it 29 times and never knew. Oh, man. The Folksel is ruining bedtime story. Apologies. Okay. And the Folksel, and slipping in an instant outside my barrel. Thanks, guys. I just am going to listen to the story and then try to get some sleep. Okay, sounds good, Alex. I hope you rest well. I want to just say the sentence again, because now I'm excited to say the word and I don't want to forget how to pronounce it. I'm happy again. I could hear people tumbling up from the cabin and the forecastle and slipping in an instant outside my barrel. I dived in behind the foresail, made a double toward the stern, and came out upon the open deck in time to join Hunter and Dr. Livesey in the rush for the weather bow. All hands were already congregated. A belt of fog had lifted almost simultaneously with the appearance of the moon. Away to the southwest of us we saw 2 low hills, about a couple of miles apart, and rising behind one of them, a third and higher hill, whose peak was still buried in the fog. All 3 seemed sharp and conical in figure. So much I saw, I almost in a dream, for I had not yet recovered from my horrid fear of a minute or 2 before. And then I heard the voice of Captain Smollett issuing orders. The Hispaniola was laid a couple of points nearer the wind, and now sailed a course that would just clear the island on the east. And now, men, said the captain when all was sheeted home, has any of you ever seen that land ahead? I have, sir, said Silver. I've watered there with the trader I was cook in. The anchorage is on the south, behind an inlet, I fancy, asked the captain. Yes, sir. Skeleton Island, they calls it. It were a main place for pirates once, and a hand we had on board knowed all their names for it. That hill to the nor'ard they calls the foremost hill. There are 3 hills in a row running south'ard, fore, main, and mizzen, sir. But the main, that's the big 'un with the cloud on it, they usually calls the spyglass, by reason of a lookout they kept when they was in the anchorage cleaning. For it's there they cleaned their ships, sir, asking your pardon. I have a chart here, says Captain Smollett. See if that's the place. Long John's eyes burned in his head as he took the chart, but, by the fresh look of the paper, I knew he was doomed to disappointment. This was not the map we found in Billy Bones' chest, but an accurate copy, complete in all things, names and heights and soundings, with the single exception of the red crosses and the written notes. Sharp as must have been his annoyance, Silver had the strength of mind to hide it completely. "Yes, sir," said he. "This is the spot, to be sure, and very pettily drawed, too. Who might have done that, I wonder? The pirates were too ignorant, I reckon. Aye, here it is. Captain Kidd's anchorage. Just the name my shipmates called it. There's a strong current runs along the south, and then away nor'd up the west coast. Right you was, sir," says he. And here's the picture. It's got some color. Oh, hey, guys. I feel like I should be doing Cook's voice. My family is all for more than... There you go. That would be amazing. Hello, Just. How to fly and... Ooh, nice. The more you know, right? Exactly. That's a kind of weird picture. Yeah, I agree. Oh, that'd be beautiful, that'd be. Alright, let's continue to the next page. "Haul your wind and keep the weather of the island. Leastways, if such was your intention as to enter in careen, and there ain't no better place for that in these waters." "Thank you, my man," says Captain Smollett. "I'll ask you later on to give us a help. You may go." I was surprised at the coolness with which John avowed his knowledge of the island, and I own I was half frightened when I saw him drawing nearer to myself. He did not know, to be sure, that I had overheard his counsel from the apple barrel, and yet I had, by this time, taken such a horror of his cruelty, duplicity, and power, that I could scarce conceal a shudder when he laid his hand upon my arm. "Ah," says he, "this here's a sweet spot, this island a sweet spot for a lad to get ashore on. You'll bathe, and you'll climb trees, and you'll hunt goats, you will, and you'll get aloft on them hills like a goat yourself. Why, it makes me young again. I was going to forget my timber leg, I was. It's a pleasant thing to be young. And have 10 toes, and you may lay to that. When you want to do a bit of exploring, you just ask old John, and he'll put up a snack of something or other for you to take along." And clapping me in the friendliest way upon the shoulder, he hobbled off forward and went below. Captain Smollett, the squire, and Dr. Livesey were talking together on the quarter-deck, and, anxious as I was to tell them my story, I durst not interrupt them openly. While I was still casting about in my thoughts to find some probable excuse, Dr. Livesey called me to his side. He had left his pipe below, and being a slave to tobacco, had meant that I should fetch it, but as soon as I was near enough to speak and not be overheard, I broke out immediately. "Doctor, let me speak. Get the captain and squire down to the cabin, and then make some pretense to send for me. I have terrible news." The doctor changed countenance a little, but next moment he was a master of himself. "Thank you, Jim," said he, quite loudly. "That was all I wanted to know," as if he had asked me a question. And with that he turned on his heel and rejoined the other two, then spoke together for a little. And though none of them started, or raised his voice, or so much as whistled, it was plain enough that Dr. Livesey had communicated my request. For the next thing that I heard was the captain giving an order to Job Anderson, and then all hands were being piped on deck. "My lads," said Captain Smollett, "I've a word to say to you. This land that we have sighted is the place we have been sailing to. Mr. Trelawney, being a very open-handed gentleman, as we all know, has just asked me a word or two, and as I was able to tell him that every man on board had done his duty, alow and aloft, as I never asked to see it done better, why, he and I and the doctor are going below to the cabin to drink your health and luck. And you'll have grog served out for you to drink our health and luck. I'll tell you what I think of this. I think it handsome. And if you think as I do, you'll give a good sea cheer for the gentleman that does it." The cheer followed. That was a matter of course, but it rang out so full and hearty that I confess I could hardly believe these seamen were plotting for our blood. "One more cheer for Captain Smollett," cried Long John, when the first had subsided, and this also was given with a will. On the top of that, the 3 gentlemen went below, and not long after, word was sent forward that Jim Hawkins was wanted in the cabin. I found them all three seated around the table, a bottle of Spanish wine and some raisins before them, and the doctor smoking away, with his wig on his lap, and that, I knew, was a sign that he was agitated. The stern window was open, for it was a warm night, and you could see the moon shining behind on the ship's wake. "Now, Hawkins," said the squire, "you have something to say. Speak up." I did as I was bid, and, as short as I could make it, told the whole details of Silver's conversation. Nobody interrupted me till I was done, nor did any of the three of them make so much as a movement, but they kept their eyes upon me face from first to last. "Jim," said Dr. Livesey, "take a seat." And they made me sit down at table beside them, poured me out a glass of wine, filled my hands with raisins, and all three, one after the other, and each with a bow, drank my good health and their service to me, for my luck and courage. "Now, Captain," said the squire, "you were right, and I was wrong. I own myself an ass, and I await your orders." "No more an ass than I, sir," returned the captain. "I never heard of a crew that meant to mutiny but what showed signs before, for any man that had an eye in his head to see the mischief and take steps according. But this crew," he added, "beats me." "Captain," said the doctor, "with your permission, that's Silver, a very remarkable man." "He'd look remarkably well from a yard's arm, sir," returned the captain, "but this is talk. This don't lead to anything. I see 3 or 4 points, and with Mr. Trelawney's permission, I'll name them." "You, sir, are the captain. It is for you to speak," says Mr. Trelawney grandly. "First point," began Mr. Smollett. "We must go on, because we can't turn back. If I gave the word to go about, they would rise at once. Second point, we have time before us, at least until this treasure's found. Third point, there are faithful hands. Now, sir, it's got to come to blows sooner or later, and what I propose is to take time by the forelock, as the saying is, and come to blows some fine day when they least expect it. We can count, I take it, on your own home servants, Mr. Trelawney?" "As upon myself," declared the squire. "3, reckoned the captain. Ourselves make 7, counting Hawkins here. Now, about the honest hands." "Most likely Trelawney's own men," said the doctor. "Those he had picked up for himself, before we lit on Silver." "Nay," replied the squire, "Hans was one of mine." "I did think I could have trusted Hans," added the captain. "And to think that they're all Englishmen," broke out the squire. "Sir, I could find it in my heart to blow the ship up." "Well, gentlemen," said the captain, "the best that I can say is not much. We must lay to, if you please, and keep a bright lookout. It's trying on a man, I know. It would be pleasanter to come to blows. But there's no help for it till we know our men. Lay to it and whistle for a wind, that's my view. Jim here," said the doctor, "can help us more than anyone. The men are not shy with him, and Jim is a noticing lad. Hawkins, I put prodigious faith in you," added the squire. I began to feel pretty desperate at this, for I felt altogether helpless, and yet, by an odd train of circumstances, it was indeed through me that safety came. In the meantime, talk as we pleased, there were only 7 out of the 26 on whom we knew we could rely, and out of these 7, 1 was a boy, so that the grown men on our side were 6 to their 19. And that's the end of part 2. Part 3 is my shore adventure. Thank you. We are reading, for anybody here new, Treasure Island. That was the end of the second part, or part 2 of the book. I'm just going to catch up for a bit. My breakfast story. Aww. That's awesome. That makes me so happy. Nemo. Awesome. Tell her Nemo says hi and to wear more red. It won't help her sleep. Nemo, you're so funny. No notifications. That stinks. I'm sorry. She reads, acts, models, plays D&D and games. Oh, and first! Yay. Thank you. No, man, that pretty much sums it up. Well, I gotta work. This is oddly relaxing. That makes more sense. That's funny. I get that a lot. That's awesome, though. Um, it's Treasure Island bedtime story. Yep, gotcha. My breakfast story. I love it. Good time for a story anytime. So at the comments. I look every now and then, like now. So like these are pretty short chapters, but I usually look between like like a single chapter and then at the end of them. So and then I just keep up, catch up with them all. What years exactly makes me want to go Monkey Island and see if these. Aw, that's awesome. I do too. I love it. Usually at the end of each chapter or when Pika gets stuck on a word. That's so true. Honestly, a good idea. Yes, I try to read. I read pretty regularly at night, like about this time, before I go to bed myself. So it's just kind of a good way for me to wind down as well, and get some story time in and kind of hang out with everybody. Generally once or twice a week, but does all types. Yeah, I try to do every night, but like last week I was like really tired, so I only got like 2 or 3 in. So I try to do at least every other night, if not every night. But sometimes I miss them just because I'm not feeling well or like too tired. Always have the most beautiful. Aw, thank you. Hey, awesome live. This is like my forgot. Yes, exactly. This is a great thing. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy when you guys say that you enjoy it. That makes me so happy. Alexis is very mad at me, but she lacks the soothing charm. Alexa. That's amazing. Nemo said, we're ready. I'm sure he did. I love this live. It's straight vibe. Aw, thank you, Tip. Yeah. See, I think my English accent and reading might go down well. Oh my gosh, an English accent? For sure. I'll have to check if I remember how to read stuff. Yeah, anybody with an English or like British accent, like I'll listen to your reading lives all day. Alright, so I'm thinking one more chapter. Robert, thank you for the flower. The Alchemist. Okay, I think I do have The Alchemist. So yeah, I could read that next. Just make sure you remind me after this book is done, because I might forget. Thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you for the 19 roses. Thank you. Aw, I love it so much. You guys make me feel so warm and fuzzy inside. If you read it, I will for sure tune in. Okay, yeah, for sure. Just remind me or everybody in here, when I finish with this book, remind me to read The Alchemist next. Can you do that little lad dance? What? Aw. Who's the meanest answer? What? I pretty much only read Anne Rice and Discworld books through. That's funny. Alright, this chapter is 13, and it's My Shore Adventure, and it starts with an image. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I actually almost read instead of this book, I actually was going to read Frankenstein, but then some people requested this book instead, so I switched. So, yeah, Frankenstein's one of my favorites as well. So, I don't know why I was showing the book. This is the picture. So, ooh, that's a great shout. Very much enjoyed your reading. Oh, thank you. Alchemist Faux Show. Yeah, I love Alchemist. I'm thinking Macbeth. Ooh, I almost got Hamlet, but I felt like not many people would appreciate that as much. Alright. The appearance of the island when I came on deck next morning was altogether changed. Although the breeze had now utterly failed, we had made a great deal of way during the night, and were now lying becalmed about half a mile to the southeast of the low eastern coast. Gray-colored woods covered a large part of the surface. This even tint was indeed broken up by streaks of yellow sandbreak in the lower lands, and by many tall trees of the pine family, out-topping the others. Some singly, some in clumps, but the general coloring was uniform and sad. The hills ran up clear above the vegetation in spires of naked rock. All were strangely shaped, and the spyglass, which was by 300 or 400 feet the tallest in the island, was likewise the strangest in configuration, running up sheer from almost every angle, and then suddenly cut off at the top like a pedestal to put a statue on. The Hispaniola was rolling scuppers under it in the ocean swell. The booms were tearing at the blocks. The rudder was banging to and fro, and the whole ship creaking, groaning, and jumping like a manufactory. I didn't make up that word, that's the word. I went into protection mode. Oh wait, what happened? Aw. Never heard of The Alchemist? Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, they're pine trees. I guess it's not Oak Island. Right? Alright, let's see. Hanging to and fro, and the whole ship creaking, groaning, and jumping like a manufactory. I had to cling tight to the backstay, and the world turned giddily before my eyes. For though I was a good enough sailor when there was a way on, this standing still and being rolled about like a bottle was a thing I never learned to stand without a qualm or so, above all in the morning, on an empty stomach. Perhaps it was this, perhaps it was the look of the island, with its grey, melancholy woods, and wild stone spires, and the surf that we could both see and hear, foaming and thundering on the steep beach, at least, although the sun shone bright and hot, and the shore birds were fishing and crying all around us, and you would have thought anyone would have been glad to get to land after being so long at sea. My heart sank, as the saying is, into my boots, and from that first look onward, I hated the very thought of Treasure Island. We had a dreary morning's work before us, for there was no sign of any wind, and the boats had to be got out and manned, and the ship warped 3 or 4 miles around the corner of the island, and up the narrow passage to the haven behind Skeleton Island. I volunteered for one of the boats, where I had, of course, no business. The heat was sweltering, and the men grumbled fiercely over their work. Anderson was in command of my boat, and instead of keeping the crew in order, he grumbled as loud as the worst. "Well," he said, with an oath, "it's not forever." I thought this was a very bad sign, for up to that day, the men had gone briskly and willingly about their business, but the very sight of the island had relaxed the cords of discipline. All the way in, Long John stood by the steersman and conned the ship. He knew the passage like the palm of his hand, and though the man in the chains got everywhere more water than was down in the chart, John never hesitated once. "There's a strong scour with the ebb," he said, "and this here passage has been dug out, in a manner of speaking, with a spade." We brought up just where the anchor was in the chart, about 1/3 of a mile from either shore, the mainland on one side and Skeleton Island on the other. The bottom was clean sand. The plunge of our anchor sent up clouds of birds, wheeling and crying over the woods, but in less than a minute they were down again, and all was once more silent. The place was entirely landlocked, buried in woods, the trees coming right down to high water mark, the shores mostly flat, and the hilltops standing round at a distance in a sort of amphitheater, one here, one there. 2 little rivers, or rather 2 swamps, emptied out into this pond, as you might call it, and the foliage round that part of the shore had a kind of poisonous brightness. From the ship we could see nothing of the house or stockade, for they were quite buried among the trees, and if it had not been for the chart on the companion, we might have been the first that had ever anchored there since the island arose out of the seas. There was not a breath of air moving, nor a sound but the surf booming half a mile away along the beaches and against the rocks outside. A peculiar stagnant smell hung over the anchorage, a smell of sodden leaves and rotted tree trunks. I observed the doctor sniffing and sniffing, like someone tasting a bad egg. "I don't know about treasure," he said, "but I'll stake my wig there's fever here." If the conduct of the men had been alarming in the boat, it became truly threatening when they had come aboard. They lay about the deck, growling together in talk. The slightest order was received with a black look, and grudgingly and carelessly obeyed. Even the honest hands must have caught the infection, for there was not one man aboard to mend another. Mutiny, it was plain, hung over us like a thundercloud. What year was this book wrote? This book was written, I don't know. I'm trying to look for a copyright. Copyright 1955. Lord of the Flies is another I'd love to hear you read. I have actually not read that book myself, so that would be an interesting one. I don't have it, but love just hearing it uninterrupted. Yes. I just want my story. I'm trying to, the pearl would be a good one. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. And it was not only we of the cabin party who perceived the danger. Long John was hard at work, going from group to group, spending himself in good advice. And as for example, no man could have shown a better. He fairly outstripped himself in willingness and civility. He was all smiles to everyone. If an order were given, John would be on his crutch in an instant, with the cheeriest "Aye, aye, sir." In the world, and when there was nothing else to do, he kept up one song after another, as if to conceal the discontent of the rest. Of all the gloomy features of that gloomy afternoon, this obvious anxiety on the part of Long John appeared the worst. We held a council in the cabin. "Sir," said the captain, "if I risk another order, the whole ship will come about our ears by the run. You see, sir, here it is. I get a rough answer, do I not? Well, if I speak back, Pikes will be going in 2 shakes. If I don't, Silver will see there's something under that, and the game's up. Now, we've only one man to rely on." "And who's that?" asked the squire. "Silver, sir," returned the captain. "He's as anxious as you and I to smother things up. This is a tiff. He'd soon talk him out of it if he had the chance, and what I propose to do is to give him that chance. Let's allow the men an afternoon ashore. If they all go, why, we'll fight the ship. If they none of them go, well then, we hold the cabin, and God defend the right. If some go, you mark my words, sir, Silver'll bring them aboard again as mild as lambs." It was so decided. Loaded pistols were served out to all the shore men. Hunter, Joyce, and Redruth were taken into our confidence and received the news with less surprise and a better spirit than we had looked for. And then the captain went on deck and addressed the crew. "My lads," said he, "we've had a hot day, and are all tired and out of sorts. A turn ashore'll hurt nobody. The boats are still in the water. You can take the gigs, and as many as you please can go ashore for the afternoon. I'll fire a gun half an hour before sundown." I believe the silly fellows must have thought they would break their shins over the treasure as soon as they were landed, for they all came out of their sulks in a moment and gave a cheer that started the echo in a far-away hill and sent the birds once more flying and squalling round the anchorage. The captain was too bright to be in the way. He whipped out of sight in a moment, leaving Silver to arrange the party, and I fancy it was as well he did so. Had he been on deck, he could no longer so much as have pretended not to understand the situation. It was as plain as day. Silver was the captain, and a mighty rebellious crew he had of it. The honest hands, and I was soon to see it proved that there were such on board, must have been stupid, very stupid fellows, or rather, I suppose the truth was this, that all hands were disaffected by the example of the ringleaders, only some more, some less, and a few, being good fellows in the main, can neither be led nor driven any further. It is one thing to be idle and skulk, and quite another to take a ship and murder a number of innocent men. At last, however, the party was made up. 6 fellows were to stay on board, and the remaining 13, including Silver, began to embark. Then it was that there came into my head the first of the mad notions that contributed so much to save our lives. If 6 men were left by Silver, it was plain our party could not take and fight the ship, and since only 6 were left, it was equally plain that the cabin party had no present need of my assistance. It occurred to me at once to go ashore. In a jiffy I had slipped over the side and curled up in the foresheets of the nearest boat, and almost at the same moment she shoved off. No one took notice of me, only the bow-oar saying, "Is that you, Jim? Keep your head down." But Silver, from the other boat, looked sharply over and called out to know if that were me, and from that moment I began to regret what I had done. The crews raced for the beach, but the boat I was in, having some start, and being at once the lighter, and the better manned, shot far ahead of her consort, and the bow had struck among the shoreside trees, and I had caught a branch and swung myself out and plunged into the nearest thicket, while Silver and the rest were still 100 yards behind. "Jim, Jim," I heard him shouting, but you may suppose I paid no heed, jumping, ducking, and breaking through. I ran straight before my nose till I could run no longer. Awesome. Anybody here reading Treasure Island? Thank you. Thank you, What Year? You're welcome. Thank you for enjoying it and being here. Keto is, I don't know, I think he's probably out in his tunnel playing. I think he's still a little feisty tonight. Oh, wires, yes. I love it. I love it. Hello, Save. How are you? Fall asleep, you the bestest. Aw. Thanks. Alright, so I think we'll end there, because I need to get to sleep. And that was about 3 chapters, so that was pretty good. Oh, I just cracked that was my shoulder. Did you guys hear that? My shoulder just cracked like crazy. I'm glad. I just finished reading some of the Treasure Island books, so I'll reread the original Lost World. Ooh, yeah. Thank you for all the likes, guys, and thank you for all the gifts. Aw, you're welcome. Editor's book with pirates. Really? That's amazing. Thank you for all the likes, for all the follows, and the gifts. The gifts are so helpful. They keep me going for sure. I appreciate them. Thank you, Whitehurst, so much. But you have a great day tomorrow. I hope you are feeling good. Thank you, What Year? Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better than I was. So, I have a friend coming over. We're gonna make a pumpkin pie. So maybe I'll try it, depending on how it is, because with me cooking, it might be a good idea to make alive, because I've had many of my friends tell me, based upon my past cooking skills, I really need like a cooking show for myself. This is it's a zombie. It says zombie. It's one of my friends. He actually made this comic called Zombie, and I'm going to be doing the voice acting for it, as well as another comic he made. Oh no, James, you missed it? Wait, I thought you were here the whole time. It's called The Adventure of Brotherhood on Amazon Books. Okay, thanks for reading. Sleep well and have a great day. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being so wonderful. Brazil, hello. Hello. Please, we found each other. Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for that. Exactly. Oh no, James, I didn't realize you were gone. I'm sorry. I'll be doing it again. Maybe not tomorrow night, but the night after that, I will definitely be on. And I'll try to I don't know how the events work, but I can do create an event for a future live. And I don't know if people see those, or if I have to share them to make people see them. But I try to do those in hopes that people see that and can sign up. It's on Barnes & Noble as well. I'll be sure to check it out. Love your reading. Oh, thank you, NJ. I tried to get donations for you. Thank you, James. I appreciate it. Always appreciate the donations for sure. In South America. Wow. Hello, South America. I can add a cat on the video. Okay. You're my absolute favorite. Aw, Whitehurst. It's beautiful. Thank you, James. That is so freaking sweet. I always find you on my friends that are live. Awesome. Okay, that's cool. I'm glad. Yeah, I usually take the beginning, several minutes to wait for people to see the notification and take time to get into it. Thank you all so much. You didn't catfish. Nope, not a zombie this time. Thanks. It's sometimes hard to find. The cover has 3 boys on it. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'll see you either maybe tomorrow night, but probably the night at tonight, I guess. Because it's a new day for me here. Oh, thank you for the rose. Thank you. But I'll let you guys know ahead of time if I can. I read myself to sleep. Oh, Little, how are you? Welcome back. Nice to see you again. Thank you for the roses. Nobody reads me to sleep. I just read myself to sleep, I guess. I guess, like, these do record, so after they're done, like, I can just play it back to myself. Hello. I just got done reading. I'm about to head to bed. Thank you all for being here and for all the donations. I really appreciate them. It really does help me a lot. As you said, aw, thank you. In the book, I can't sleep. Well, the book will continue in, not this new tonight, but the next night. Like, what's today? I don't even know what today is. Wednesday night. Wednesday night I will be reading next. I might save and edit this as an audiobook. Do it. Alright. Have a good night, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you're at. I hope you all have a wonderful rest and or wonderful day, and I hope something amazing happens for all of you. Alright. Good night.